We're doing some Taylor Swift analysis with this Alteryx weekly challenge. So we're trying to work out the top 10 words in each of her albums. And also then we're going to move on to look at the repetitiveness, how many times she duplicates certain lines. So we've got all of her albums and the lyrics split out in this nice format, which is quite clean already, really. But then we want to exclude some stop words because we don't care about those for the top 10 words. So to do this, we probably want each lyric to be on its own separate line. For that, we're going to need to do a text to columns, and then we're going to split the results out into rows. So if we go on to lyric, then we're just going to use the delimiter as a backslash s, and we're going to split to rows. So if we run that, then we see that now we've got them all split out to rows. But if we look at our stop words, we'll notice that they're all in lowercase. So that would probably be helpful to get rid of them. And then if we scroll down a little bit more, actually, maybe not here, but in the original, then you can see that we've got some words are in quotes. So we probably want to get rid of punctuation from both of them so that we get rid of all of the unnecessary stop words and don't miss any because there's a little bit of extra punctuation in them. So that's what we're going to do now with a little bit of data cleanse on each of the two inputs. So we're just going to do it on the lyric field here, and we're going to remove the punctuation and we're going to make this lowercase. And down here, we're just going to remove the punctuation of our stop words. Now we're going to use a find and replace, but before we do that, I'm going to just add in a replace column and just leave it empty basically, so that wherever we've got those words, those stop words, we just replace them with an empty. We could equally do a join maybe to exclude them, but this is just what I'm choosing to do here. So in the lyric, the entire field, find the stop words and replace it with the replacement, which is just empty. So we run that, and then we can see that we get a lot of blanks, empties. So we can filter those out from our analysis. So we want our lyric to be is not empty. And cool. So now that we've got all of those words split out, and we now want to find out the top 10 basically that have been used. So let's do a summarise for each album, and we want to have each lyric, and we want to do a count of those lyrics. So if we now run that, then we'll see that we have our album, and for example, Ace has been used once, whereas something like Aha has been used 9 times. So if that's great, now we need to, if we want to do a top 10, then to do this, we're going to sort the results that we've got here. So first of all, we want to keep it grouped by album, but then our count, we want that to be descending. So then we can see, for example, here that the most common lyric in the 1989 album is Shake. And so, but then we've still got all the lyrics in total, so we just want to use a sample tool to only get the top 10. And we'll group it by the album there so that it's the top 10 for each album. And now we've got all those top 10s. If we look in our output, then we want these top 10s to be concatenated with spaces between them. So let's just use a summarise tool again. This challenge really is all about the summarise tools. And we're going to use a string function of concatenate, and our separator is going to be a space. I think that works. I don't know if you have to use a \s. No, you can just use a space there. Lovely. We probably want to rename that to just be top 10 lyrics instead of concat lyric. Cool, so that's the first part of our challenge done. And now we need some extra columns to go with that. So from lyrics, we now need to look at the rows, the duplicate rows. So we're going to do a similar thing here where we're going to use a data cleanse, because again, it might be that quote marks are involved. It's a debate as to whether or not you use the data cleanse tool here. but I think that you probably don't want the punctuation in there, and you probably want it all to be lowercase in case, you know, some lines have been randomly capitalized at the start or not. So we're going to use that same sort of data cleanse. I could have just copied and pasted that, couldn't I? Oh well. And then we're going to do a grouping by album and by lyric, so those lines that we've got. And we're going to just count the number of lyrics that lines that you get there. So, for example, here in 1989, this, all you had to do is state is repeated 15 times in the whole album, whereas a lot of these are unique. So we're going to use a filter tool to just filter off all those that are equal to 1, and these will be our unique ones. And then we'll have everything else that comes out of the false anchor is a duplicate. So if we group by the album and sum up that count, then that'll be the duplicate lines. And if we do the same up here, then this will be our unique lines. So now we basically just want to join all the information back together. So we're going to use a join multiple here, just because there's 3 of them. And there we go. If we join them all by the album, and we don't need album from either of the other ones, then we can see that we're getting towards the output that we want. I think I've missed off having the album year in. So if I just go back to here and take through the year, let's just group by there and make sure that year is also grouped by here. Then we'll have our year coming through as well. Lovely. So there we go. Lovely. Now we just want to calculate this repetitiveness score. So we're going to use a formula tool so that we can get the total number of lines per album. Total lines will just be equal to the unique lines plus the duplicate lines. And we'll make this also an integer. And then we want this repetitiveness score. Repetitive. Yes. Excuse my spelling here, but you get the picture. So that would just be I think it's the duplicate lines divided by the total number of lines, and then we'll just multiply that by 100 as well, so that it's more of a visible percentage. And the only thing left to do to make it match the output might be to rearrange the columns with the select tool and sort it into the order of album year from top to bottom, but I'm not going to bother with that because even what I've done here, you might notice that the output isn't exactly the same, the unique lines and the duplicate lines, probably through those assumptions that I made that I should use the data cleansing tool here. Many people are also having the same issue online, so it's not a problem. I think all the logical steps are correct and like I said, the logic's there. So it's a fun challenge to see that through the years, potentially, you know, the last couple of albums have been a little bit higher on the repetitiveness. So that's probably how you can annoy a Taylor Swift fan if you'd like to, but I wouldn't recommend it. Okay, thanks for listening.